Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
And I'm Trish.
And that's it. Bernard had to step away for the rest of this game. Has a lot of shit going on and needed the extra breather. And instead of trying to fill in a host for 3 episodes, we're just going to finish it out as a two-hander. So today we will be continuing our playthrough of Legend of Legaia, covering up until we escape from the city in the sky. But before we get to all of that, how was your week, Trish?
I'm gonna pick out the thing that stands out, which is I've talked about the saga of getting my name changed a little bit on the podcast before, and there's been a new entry. As a recap, in order to get your name changed in a lot of states, including Massachusetts, you need to, after filing the initial paperwork, you need to publish in a nearby newspaper that you are changing your name so everyone can see and they can do a thing about it. And I did this back in, I think, August or September. I published it, and then I sent in the thing, and then I got a thing back saying, hey, the newspaper published it wrong. The date that is you have until this date to come in and challenge this person changing their name was wrong. And I checked. I sent it in correctly. And then I sat on that for a couple of months because making phone calls is extremely stressful, and it was hard to get the willpower to do it. So then I did it, and I was very glad that I called about it, and the person was just like, wow, that sounds like it was our fault. Yeah, we'll fix that for you for free. We'll publish again for you. But first, I had to get a new citation because my old one had expired. And then that happened, and then they published it again, and it was wrong again.
Oh my fucking god.
So I told them, and they're like, oh, damn, okay, what should it say specifically? I'm like, this is what it should say. And they went, okay, yeah, it'll be the next one. And just yesterday, I get a thing in the mail with it, and I check it, and it actually has the correct date this time. So
Beautiful.
Tomorrow, I'm not going to waste another second of my life. I'm going to bus over to Worcester to get to the courthouse and file this, and hopefully they're not going to also make me talk to a judge, but there's a chance I'm going to have to go into court on a day, wait interminable length of time to go up in front of a judge and go, hi, my name's Trish, actually. Please make that legal. Hopefully I don't have to do that. There's a chance they won't. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing. The only other sort of thing is, I believe I mentioned before, either in the main show or the after show, I can't remember. One of the many fun things I've been doing, going through a series with someone, is me, my sister, and one of my girlfriends have been going through comics together, and we're currently going through the Unbelievable Gwenpool, which is one of the favorites of this particular girlfriend. It is a series I had not tried. And going through it is delightful. We just went through a big chunk of it last night, and it was, as someone who I don't like to stake like, oh, this is the thing. Like, if I have an art thing that is my corner, but if I do have one, it's postmodern stuff, which feels so lame to say, but it really is. And that chunk of Gwenpool hit that so hard in such a beautiful way. I absolutely adored it. It was fantastic. Oh, wait. One other thing that happened this week. Arcane Season 2 finished. And I'm not going to say anything more about it here and now, except to just say, I cannot believe lesbian sex happened on screen and I didn't care.
Wow.
That says something. With me, that says how much I had disinvested.
Damn.
They fumbled this.
See, I told you, all of League of Legends is bad, and you shouldn't have been into Arcane.
Listen. Here's the problem: is the writing sucks, but every other part of the show is good. And the writing only sucks sometimes. The plotting sucks. The character writing is mostly good. It's just the plotting that's garbage.
I hate this for you.
Yeah, it was extreme. Honestly, that wasn't as rough as uh there was a mishandling of a character with mental health issues that did that thing when an artist mishandles a character with mental health issues in such a way that if you're the kind of person who imprints on that character, which I know a lot of I know in real life people who have really imprinted onto this character,
Mhm.
and then doing something with that character that basically glorifies and romanticizes the worst outcome of those sorts of traits of like the self-destructive way that can go. Uh, I don't like that. I think you shouldn't say that your a person's worst fears about themselves are correct.
Yeah, it's
That's
bad.
that's bad. Anyway, what's your week been like, Sam?
My week has been kind of all over the place. So, biggest thing that I've been doing is turning away through the graphic audio for Rhythm of War while doing cross stitching. We can go into a lot more particulars in the bonus show, but
Ooh,
so far, I think it's my favorite production, despite the fact that
the best
the
actress is no longer around.
the best actress is no longer around, and it kind of what needed her for this book. But everyone else is on 10. The uh, I don't know if behind the microphone all of the singers are actually black, but they all sound like they are, which I think is really cool. It makes them sound
Agreed.
very like they have
The
like it,
rhythms they speak to.
yeah, they speak to the rhythms that with the, like African accent together is very very cool sounding. And so every time they're on screen, quote unquote, it's just delightful. And the way that the music guy or person, whatever, music producer, like decided what the rhythm of compassion is, or the rhythm of the lost is, or whatever the rhythms are. Like he had to make that call of what does that sound like, and so then it's
Yes,
consistent and it's so good.
I
Uh
think I absolutely love hearing that because I want to hear that. I want to see that.
yeah.
It's been a thing of if we ever get a good adaptation, if we ever get an animated adaptation of Stormlight Archive,
Mhm.
I want that sort of effort put into it.
Yeah.
Uh, there's an artist I know who does really incredible art of throughout the series. I was actually on a voice call with her recently, which is wild.
Wow.
And she does a thing with the rhythms where the string connecting the dialogue balloon with the character has
Mhm.
waves in it which represent the different rhythms.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Love that shit. But yeah, I'll bring in a lot more things, but it's fantastic. But I miss OG Shalon, and I'm hoping that because you can tell when some of the characters talk that they're talking through masks. So obviously this was a COVID production, which lines up with when the book came out. So uh I'm hoping that it was COVID reasons why Shalon 1 didn't come back, and so we'll get Shalon 1 again when the Wind and Truth one comes out. But I'm not crossing my fingers for that because it hasn't happened before. But that's been really really cool. But related to that is this is about to get like IT guy nerdy, so ignore
I
me.
love it.
But
No, I'll
so
never ignore it.
so lately, I have been using Audio Bookshelf for my audiobook collection. All the things that I get from Libro FM, I put them into Audio Bookshelf, and then I'm in the Audio Bookshelf iOS beta. Before I used Plappa. So those of you writing notes on I want to be just like Sam, you can get Plappa until the official Audio Bookshelf app comes out. But that is super cool and super awesome. And one of the things that they do is they can match your chapters for your books with the ones that are on Audible. Like you can scrape Audible to see what those chapters are supposed to be. So it can write your chapter metadata and then make you an M4B book with all of the bookmarks stored in it, which is
Incredible.
super cool and awesome. My main audio listening device, however, is an old iPod Classic, which doesn't have enough RAM to hold audiobooks that are longer than, say, 20 hours in memory, which isn't a problem for most other people. But here I am listening to giant books. So for Rhythm of War, I've split it at the parts. Not at the parts that graphic audio split it at, but at the parts in the book, because it was, my things were chapterized, so it was easy to be like, oh, this says interlude, that's the end of part one, so the interludes go into part two, etc. And so I split it at all the parts. I have 5 parts on the thing, but on my iPod, I'm using Rockbox because I'm a nerd and I wanted to hack it. But Rockbox doesn't recognize M4B chapters, so I was having to do a lot of math when I would switch from listening at work through the audio bookshelf app or on my phone or whatever to listening on my iPod, because I don't have 70% of the way through the 40 hours. I have 5 10 hour things. And so I would have to be like, okay, I am at hour 36, and so part one is 9 hours, and so -9, and then part two is yada yada yada, and do the math to figure out where I am to try and match up between the two. And that was a lot of not fun, and I hated it. And there were a couple other things I was running into that were annoying as well. And so I was like, well, Rockbox is great and I love it, but I guess I'll go back to iPod OS. Um, iPod OS fucking sucks. um, uh, your audiobook speeds that are available are slow, normal, and fast. It does
How
it
fast is
does
fast?
it doesn't elaborate on that. It's just slow, normal, and fast. For some reason, I was getting like static in the things that I do not get on any other player. Don't know why. It just like every now and then would just get it like while
Oh
listening to it. And I hated it.
no.
It doesn't have idle timeout, and so I have a giant fucking battery. Like I have I think it originally came with a 150 milliamp hour battery, and I have a 3000 in there right now. So I never have to charge it, especially because on Rockbox, if you're not using playing anything for 10 minutes or whatever, it just shuts itself off. So then when I come back and do it, I press the button and wait for it to boot, and then I can start listening. And so because it's always off, the battery lasts for even longer. iPod OS doesn't do that. You can't turn iPod OS off. The only powered thing you can do is to force it to reboot. You can't force it to turn off. It's stupid. I hate it. So my battery died on me for the first time since modding this iPod, and it made me really upset. And so I was looking
That is
online.
upsetting.
I was looking on line on like, is there like a fork of Rockbox because it's open source? Is there a fork where somebody cares about audiobooks? And basically, no. There is a it's not necessarily a fork. It's like a mod that he makes sure is compatible with whatever the current thing is, and so you just copy the files over and hit replace, and it'll do things. And that one solves the biggest problem with Rockbox, which was my your listening speed. I had to go like into 4 different menus and then increase it by 0.1%. So when I want to get to 150%, that's pressing it 500 times. It's not fun. Don't recommend it. And so and then once you did that, if you powered off your device and turned it back on, it would reset to 100. It wouldn't store it. You could store like your EQ and your everything as like your ideal configuration, but it there wasn't a way to store it. So in the mod, he made it where it saves it for first time you force stop a book. So all you have to do is turn it on the first time and then hit stop and then go again. It'll save it, and it's been wonderful ever since then. I also found one that is a key remapper where I could change the open playlist button that I don't fucking need to be a shortcut to the speed section. So those two things working together has made it a lot better now. I still have to do math, and there's kind of no way around it, but it was much worse on iPod OS. So I will I will deal with math. So it's been a big thing. But when I was looking up uh tutorials on how to do it last night, one of the one of the tutorials I was looking at had like screenshots showing along the way, and the song that they were listening to in their screenshot is "Theme from Beach Justice" by Exciting Excellent, aka my best friend Jasmine, the person who wrote the original theme song for RPG Book Club. they were
Incredible.
they were the example, and that was like, oh my god, I've made it sort of thing, even though I didn't make it. It wasn't the songs that I wrote with Jasmine, it was the songs that Jasmine wrote by herself, but still it was kind of cool and awesome. So yeah, I've been on a tech journey, but I'm fairly happy with where my iPod is right now. I still need to get off the spinning hard drive, but that costs like $50, and I don't have $50 right now. But I will have $50 soon, and then my iPod will be in its final form, and I can be the ultimate hipster of listening to my iPod everywhere. Since switching over to my iPod and doing like unplugging on purpose. That's why I have it. It's because I don't want to accidentally start playing a game and then my ears glaze over and I don't pay attention to the book or whatever. But a side effect of that is now the thing that I'm attached to is not my phone, and I have ended up at the grocery store with no phone, with no anything way too often now because I'm not tied to my phone, which is a wonderful problem to have.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you are listening to this and you're like, wow, I should get me an iPod. Unless you have one laying around like I did, you should instead get a Fio M3000, I think is it. Don't quote me on that, but Fio is the brand, FIIO. They are still doing the thing, and they have a lot of really good digital audio players because people don't put MP3s on them anymore. It's either AAC or FLAC. But the digital audio player by Fio is where it's at, and you should just get one of those unless you still have your iPod.
Hey, could
But
you send me a link to or the name or something so I
yeah,
could it's the time of year where people are asking me for gift lists and I'm
yeah,
like, I'd like one of those, please.
yeah. Okay, so it's not the M5. I'll find it, but it's the Fio M something or other, and
Okay.
it's the one that when I was bitching about this on Reddit, everybody was like, "You should just get you one of the cheap Android based ones, like the Fio blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah, I would if it wasn't $100 that I've already put into iPod mods. If I had it
Yeah.
just from scratch, I would do that, but uh, I do not." But what I do have is a lot of experience playing Legend of Legaia this week.
Indeed, indeed.
So let's listen to some music that I get to pick this week because I get to edit this episode. So whatever I decide it'll be is what we'll listen to, and then we'll get started.
Last time we cleared the mist out of the lower levels of Soul Tower, so it's only right to go through them and see what we can find. If you talk to enough people, it becomes clear that while no one's entirely sure about this, it seems like Gaza might have killed a lot of the transformed civilians over the years, because a lot of people aren't here, which is odd because we've been to other cities that have been revived by the mist and they don't have that problem. There's also a second weapon shop you can find that has better but much more expensive stuff you can buy. The real thing you need to find, though, is the Emperor, who's hiding out in someone's basement. This dude used to rule all of Seoul, and like maybe he still technically does, though it seems like his people aren't the happiest with him right now. Regardless, he has an important message for Vaughn in the group that is from Dr. Usha, the password you can use to get into his lab, and the password is XX triangle circle square.
I love when characters speak buttons. It's so
Yes, same.
stupid, but I love
It's the
it so
best.
much.
As we leave the tower, though, we get a scene in the floating castle, where Zora, ruler of the drifting dispenser of diabolical mist, is contemplating the news of our success with the Genesis tree and soul. The three Dalilah siblings, who kneel before her, are eager to take out the party, and when Zora mentions that we're likely to go after Koru next, they run off, ready to meet us there. And at the far end of the room, Songi stands with his arms crossed and a sinister smile on his face. Anyway, back to our characters. We have to trek all the way around, over past the frozen village, and head to the structure that looks halfway between a broadcast tower and an oil well. Inside, as I mentioned last week, you're asked for a password to enter, but this time just entering the building has a cutscene where Noah approaches excitedly, talking into the speaker about how eager she is to meet Dr. Usha. However, the scientist is wary. He doesn't want to be tricked by any servants of the mist, and so does ask for that password, which we give to him. It was a little harder for me because my USB controller is based on a GameCube, and remembering which symbol correlates to X, circle, square, and triangle was a little hard, but I did figure it out. Now, you might say, Trish, you could have just pulled up the config menu and noted it or whatever. But no, I used save states and just trialed and errored until I got there.
I love that.
With the password given, the elevator's lowered so we may visit the scientist community. It's basically just another little town, and the great Dr. Usha is, of course, on the draw. What did I mean when I wrote that? I don't remember. Anyway, he's the person we came here to see. He knows what Raw Seru are, and when he hears about all our heroes have done on their journey, the telling takes so long that it takes until next morning for them to finish. Now that our heroes are done with their expositing, it's time for the Doctor to do that, but even more so, because unlike our heroes, we don't get to skip past any of it with a time skip. The big goal here is to get to the floating castle and destroy it. Obviously, it's what's generating the mist around here. We destroy the mist destroyers. Mist destroyers? Mist generators. That's how this works. But as the name implies, it's a little hard to reach a floating castle without wings. And he says that we're going to need to revive the Genesis trees in the frozen village of Booma to do that, but he doesn't say why or how that thought process works, and we don't get an answer to that. It does work out. It just makes me wonder how he knew that's what we needed to do. The only way to defrost the Booma is to take out the Seru who's freezing it over, a creature called Koru, which lives in the Novora Ravine. According to the good doctor, Koru has been breathing out cold air while at the same time storing thermal energy for years, making it basically a bomb. The only recourse, then, is to make a bomb of our own, namely to create a time-space bomb, which would trigger a thermal reversal, destroying him without causing any destruction outside of him. I'm gonna leave aside the fact that a time-space bomb sounds absolutely terrifying, and
Yeah.
instead eye the term thermal reversal here with a skeptical look. I mean, my studies into thermal physics were fairly minor and about 10 years ago, so I can't say for sure this is bullshit, but it just doesn't smell right.
Mm.
Now, in order to make a time space bomb, obviously, we need a fire droplet.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, of course.
of course. That the only place to get one is in Urumais, the place where all the Seru come from. We have to go there and dream, which will summon Teague, who will then give us a fire droplet, at least according to the legend. Usha does not know who Teague is, but at least that's what the legends say, and that's all we've got. On the way out, his wife stops us and quizzes us to make sure we have all of that exposition down correctly, and it's only after we give her the right answers that she gives us the key we need to get into Urumais. Approaching the ruins, the party does notice something odd. There isn't a Genesis tree here, and yet there's also no sign of the mist. Something is keeping the mist away from this place, and as they all climb the enormous black stone structure at the center of this area, the camera pans over to see that Kara is watching, though for what reason, we don't yet know. I'll be honest, I finished playing the section, I still don't really
Don't
know.
really know.
Heading to the...
I think
Yeah.
I think they're trying to get us to distrust Kara because she's been do we like her, or is she up to no good, like back and forth ever since we got to this continent? I think that's what they were trying to do there. They just didn't have an answer for why this one made her look like she was up to no good. They just forgot, I think.
Incredible. I I mean, I could think of like, she wants a thing that we can do, and so she's keeping an eye on us, I guess, especially after we did the Genesis Tree of Soul. But yeah, it if they're trying to make me distrust Kara, that's a losing battle. I'm never going to
Mhm.
distrust a hot thief woman. It's never going to happen.
Never
I'm an
ever.
easy mark. Uh, Heading to the top, our protagonists debate on how we are going to proceed when a voice announces, "You was Key ruins. Who has door? Dreams will be open. Gather at Dream." Very informative. But
Hmm.
better yet, three glowing triangular doors open up on different sides of the base of the structure. Clearly, that is where we have to go. Each door leads to a long series of corridors with no random battles in them. And then at the end of each one, there's a bed. I wrote bed. I'm being very generous. This is like a magic water bed.
It's called a stone stage, but it definitely
It
smooshes like a
smooshes
waterbed.
like a waterbed. And they're covered by a pyramid shaped force field. And for each of them, as you approach, one of the party is put into a weird sleepwalky state, and they go up and they fall asleep on the bed. And the others aren't able to get through that force field, and are only able to watch as their friend has a dream sequence, which they don't get to see. And after the dream sequence, part of that strange item that I didn't mention before that's on top of the structure, but it's like one of those little desk toys where it's a bunch of
Hmm.
little circles with the little pegs between them. It will turn a color that matches the color of the door slash the person who, like, the raw Seru associated with the person who had their dream. Also, a bunch of translucent things are summoned with every sequence to the top of the area. They get more and more solid. You need to do all three dreams to completely summon them. I'm doing my best to describe all of this. It's just really weird.
Hmm. It's very cool.
It's so
What
cool. It's just really a nightmare to describe.
it, one of this should probably be a mem on, but Bernard's not here. There's no rules. Um, one of the camera angles when you're going through the thing follows you like an over the shoulder, which the game hasn't done so far. It's like you haven't had a moving camera in that way yet, and it rules,
Mhm.
and it looks so cool and so good.
Now, on to everyone's dreams. Vaughn's dream is of his childhood, overhearing that his mother, who's just given birth to a sister, is experiencing massive hemorrhaging, and the only thing that could save her life would be Drake water. But of course, the mist stops anyone from Rim Elm getting to Drake Castle to get any. Desperate to save his mother, the young Vaughn sneaks out of Rim Elm and goes. And it is in going to after him that his father Val injures his leg. A figure then speaks to Vaughn, telling him not to blame himself for this, not to feel guilty, and that bravery will allow humans to shape the future. I'm just going to say right now, again, breaking our usual structure, for me, this was easily the most affecting of the dream sequences, and
Mhm.
wow, was not expecting something like this to just show up in the game.
Yeah,
In Noah's dream, we learn her backstory. She's the child of King Nebular, incredible name, and Queen
so
Minia
good.
of Konkrom. But shortly after her birth, something mysterious happened involving a man named Court. Where have you heard that name before? And the mist was soon upon them. Before it could reach the palace, the queen gave Noah to a soldier of Sorin, men who use Seru to fly, and sent them off to protect her child. Of course, that man eventually died on a mountaintop, and the infant Noah was found by a wolf and Terra. The voice tells Noah to hold onto her hope, which, like, okay, voice, I get that you haven't really met her before now. You don't realize that there's basically no chance of her ever losing that.
Right.
Last is Gala's dream, but before we get that, there's a strange little scene where the Raw Seru mention that what they're seeing in the aftermath of these dreams is called a phantasmal light, and Gala gets really suspicious of Ozma, making it clear that should they ever diverge in like their way of dealing with things, he'll deal with his raw Seiru. And it just feels a little out of nowhere. Like I get he was raised not to trust Seiru, but he's kind of jumping down Ozma's throat for nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Anyway,
because the Rosseiru's thing was like, yeah, remember when we started this, people like us caused the apocalypse that made all of you hate us. We were not really in a bargaining position, so we were being a little coy on what it is. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense, but I will fucking kill you. Okay?
yep. Anyway, his dream. A few years ago, there was to be a fighting tournament at the monastery, and all were sure Gala would win. That he was the best of them, that his spiritual strength outmatched any amount of training Songi could possibly do. Songi and Gala talk privately, and the red-haired future villain is very clearly upset that no one, not even Gala himself, at least in his eyes, thinks he has a chance. And then Songi goes to an apothecary and asks for jiggle grass for his headache, despite being warned that taking it would cause his body to go numb. Of course, he then tricks Gala into taking it by saying he had taken several Fury boosts before the fight, and saying that it would be only fair for Gala to have some too, and thanks to the numbing this trickery causes, Gala loses. Afterwards, the woman who gave Songi the grass confronts him and reveals that she told Gala ahead of time about this trickery, and he took it anyway because he trusted Songi so much. And what Songi gets out of this is that Gala is so arrogant, and it has only stoked his fire of hatred all the more. Which, my God, this is a Ryoga Hibiki from Ranma move. I swear to God.
Absolutely.
The voice comes in and says that Gala should be proud and that his pride is good, which interesting lesson to take out of that story. Anyway, with all that done, the summoning of Teague is complete. But before we talk to Teague, we have to talk to that circle of summoned spirit things who are also kind of Teague, and we get a bunch of lore. See, Teague is both a human and a Seiru at the same time, and also Teague made the universe. Okay.
Mhm.
In the beginning,
Off to a good start.
yeah, in the beginning, Teague was everything, but then he separated everything out to two worlds, one human, one Seiru. And to protect both worlds, he planted 10 Genesis trees on the human side and a mother Genesis tree, Serukai. Okay, the raw Seiru were made to govern the Seiru, but then 10,000 years ago, a raw Seiru named Rogue schemed behind Teague's back and gave the humans access to Seiru. For this, Rogue was then sealed in a prison dimension, but by that time, humans had already started using Seiru as a pillar of civilization, but like in a way that's really implied to be bad. The mist was born of Rogue, but the way it blankets Legaia now is because of the actions of a human. Oh, and the raw Seiru who we know now were all put in trees so they would one day bond humans and help save the world if the world ever needed saving. And with all that said, we're given our fire droplet. It turns out to be really great timing too, because just as we're starting to leave, the Juggernaut appears in a cutscene and blows up the
Mhm.
ruins with a laser.
Yup.
The heroes watch, aghast, and then Kara steps in. Noah asks her for her raw Sailor egg, and Kara agrees to hand it over, but only if our heroes save her hometown of Buma. She then backflips away, which, I mean,
As one does.
okay, cool. We were already gonna save Buma. That was the next thing we were going to do. This game has a tendency of giving us goals and then have characters come in and make it clear that they want us to go do the goal we were already going to do. Anyway, we take that fire droplet to Usha, who then makes for us that time space bomb. I keep wanting to say space time because space time is the proper term, but time space, okay, the time space bomb. Uh, Except he doesn't give us one time space bomb. He gives us four of them. One
Mhm.
of them gets us into the ravine, and the other three have to be all placed around Koru and detonated simultaneously. In both cases, we have 3 seconds after they activate to run the hell away and avoid getting blown up.
So
And
you know what's
again,
a really smart thing to do?
what?
Is to make four bombs with the power of literal God and then hand them to 14-year-olds, one of which met their first person a month ago.
Yes, exactly.
Let's just hand four nukes to these teenagers. Why not? Let's see what happens.
Uh, and again on the way out, we are given a quiz from Mrs. Usha, and once we make it clear that we were paying attention and heard everything we needed, we're given a bunch of healing items, which, if you're me, you're gonna need really soon. So we head to that ravine, which is north of Buma, and the entrance is blocked by spears of ice, but hey, that's what that first bomb's for. Gala sets us up the bomb and is ready to run, but it blows up on two instead of three, almost killing him. Whackety schmackety.
Good thing
Noah
you got
is
all of those healing items.
yeah. Noah's amazed by the power of the bomb and is like, wait, why don't we just use this on those frozen Genesis trees and that'll solve the problem? And then Tara's like, no, that would destroy the trees and also the entire village. And you know what? I think the jury has a good point. Using a bomb to warm yourself up is not a very smart idea.
No.
Our heroes easily make it to the top of the mountain that is also a ravine, apparently, where they run into three flying men, people from Soren. They're considering charging the flying castle. I'm gonna say I know it's called officially the floating castle. I miswrote it as flying castle a bunch of times in my notes. I tried to get some of them. I didn't get all of them, so I'm just gonna missay it sometimes. So I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But then they notice our heroes and they fly away, and I'm sure that these Soren people will never be important again. From there, our heroes reach the point where they must split up, gang, and we get a fun little area where you switch between them using the square button, and each one needs to progress a certain amount to then get rid of a barrier for one of the other two that helps them progress, etc., etc. It's really fun. It reminds me of that one dungeon in Skies of Arcadia.
Mhm.
At the end of it all, our heroes are surrounding Koru, ready to place their charges. But oh no, it's the Dalilaw siblings, and they're here to fight us. Specifically, each of them wants to fight one of the party. Girl versus girl, big guy versus big guy, and ninja versus silent protagonist. We then fight three separate boss fights in a row. And, like, they're not the worst, though Gallus was particularly annoying to me, considering how long it took for him to chip away his boss's health. And once he ran out of MP, I had to throw a lot of items at him to keep him alive. All the siblings have the same basic thing. They either will do a series of strikes, which will do like an okay amount of damage, or they have their big screw you attack, which you're gonna have to heal after for. And every time you defeat one of them, they fall backwards into the pit surrounding Koru.
It- Gaulas was hard. Were you using magic?
Yeah, I was using it, and then I ran out of MP.
Were you using Aluru and whatever the dog one is, Gamora?
Oh no, I was fighting normally. I wasn't using magic to fight. I was just using magic to heal.
Oh no, Gala sucks. Do not let him punch anyone ever again. Only use
But he's
magic.
a martial artist.
He's
He's
not.
from the monks.
Yes, he should be your tank. He's actually your mage.
I'm
You
so
only
stupid.
only let
It's
him use
so
magic.
stupid. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, actually,
you know the guy who is religiously opposed to bonding with a Rosaru. He's your Rosaru expert. That's how this game works. Only use him for magic. I was about because like I did like
okay,
four
I did use him
turns.
for magic for the other thing coming up because I literally you have to or you have no chance of doing it.
Yeah, I did like four magic spells and then my points card, and I beat the guy like it was no big deal.
I haven't used my points card the entire game. It's
You
still
should
I've
use. It's going to do
no,
all nines because
I know. I
every time I
wanted
use
to
it,
get all
it's been
nines.
like 5,000, 6,000, and I've used it like seven times. So
I
yeah,
listen, I wanted to do 9,999. That's what I'm
yeah.
saving it for. I'm gonna use it dramatically when I don't need to on like the last boss or something. Anyway, with all of them defeated, our heroes set us up the bombs. But once again, they blow up before they should have. But otherwise, they get the job done. The Koro is knocked down in the pit, which then proves to be a problem because the Delilaw siblings do not like to lose, even in death. So they all bond with the Koru and then self-destruct, which would kill us. Which means it's time for our fourth boss fight. And this one is timed. The game says you have 4 turns. It's actually more accurate to say that you have until the end of the fifth turn. But Holy crap, this thing has so much health. You basically have to be doing max damage every turn to kill it.
Yeah,
It's
this was
and
piss
again,
easy.
oh my god, are you literally the LP archive thing I had was like, I hate this. This is the worst part of the game. It's so hard. I
Yeah,
was doing Allura. I had both him and Vaughn both doing Allura. Well, I had fucking Noah doing her Noah's Ark attack every turn.
yeah. I had Gala using Uluru. I had Vaughn using Gamara, and I had Noah doing Noah's Ark, and I did over 25% health each time, which is all you need because there you have four
That's
turns.
that was not my experience. Uh,
It
regardless.
it was piss easy.
No, it wasn't.
Like what wasn't like he didn't even really hit me with any difficult moves.
Well,
I just
no, his moves aren't the problem. The problem is there's a time limit.
yeah, I thought this was a you can't lose this fight.
No, I lost a bunch of times.
Oh.
Oh my god. Okay.
Apparently you can just use the your points card which you didn't use to like
Which yes,
basically one shot
I
him.
could have, but I wanted to not. I didn't want to do that. Anyway, with Koru destroyed, everything that is frozen thaws out. Our Raw Seru make the point that, Koru wasn't really evil. He's a Seru, and Seru just do what they're pushed to by humans. And the party's like, wait, does that mean that you're not good or evil either? And they're like, well, our time around humans has changed us, which, I'm sorry, that's not an answer. Uh,
They specifically cage around the answer, I believe, where he says,
yeah,
we Raseru are the way we are because we have been in the human world too long. Now let's go back to Buma.
yeah.
No follow up questions. Just we are the way we are, not necessarily we are good or we are evil. Just we
Mhm.
are the way we are, and it's all your fault.
Yeah. Well, we go back to Buma. The ice is cleared. And they just go up to the trees and they wake him up and the mist is cleared. Easy peasy. Kara shows up and is amazed that we actually did what she told us to, and is ashamed at herself for ever giving up on hope. They ask her for that raw Saru egg again, but instead of doing that, she goes in between all of the trees and digs up something she buried, sheet music that represents her love. Uh, we then see some Soren fly by, and the heroes are like, "Wait a minute, those people can fly. That would be really helpful to get to the floating castle." Kara then gives us the sheet music, and okay, so like you ask around town and you learn about Kara's tragic past. She fell in love with Grantes, that dude from the bar. It
Mhm.
turns out he used to be a
The pimp.
Soren. Hmm.
I
Yes,
said
the
the
pimp.
pimp.
Yeah, but he used to be a Soren, but he lost his wings because of their tragic love. So we have to go back to Seoul and we give the sheet music to the pianist in the club, and him playing it, even though he's like, this is really simple tune, are you sure you want me to play something that's easy? I'm a jazz musician. And we're like, yeah, no, please play it. uh and he plays it and it knocks Grantes out of his reverie of drink, and we can talk to him and be like, hey, we cleared Booma of the Mist, and also Cora loves you and she's waiting for you, and he runs off to go see her. And then we go to their house in Buma, and they're happily back together now. And we get the full story of what happened. One day, he was flying around, and he heard Cora playing music, and that drew him down to the surface, and they fell in love. And then Zora, who was the evil lady who runs the floating castle, was like, hey, if you give me raw Seru eggs from those trees in Buma, I will give your girlfriend wings. And he gave her two of the three. The third one he gave to Cora. And then she completely balked on the bargain and instead used the eggs in the making of the castle somehow. And for his part in it, the Soren banished Grantes forever and took his wings. However, he does not have the he just however he does have the flute that you can use to like call out to the Soren, and he gives it to us, and Cora gives us a raw Saru egg. So that's all of that backstory, I guess. That felt like it was kind of just showed up and smashed us in the face, and now it's done. But now we go to Mount Dini, of course named for one of the creators of Batman the Animated Series, and we climb up to the top. And at the top, we play the flute, and some Soren show up. And immediately they're like, "Where'd you get that flute?" And we're like, "Oh, Grantis gave it to us." And they're like, "Well, he's a traitor, and we don't trust anyone on the surface, so like, go to hell." But then Gala says, "What? Do you want the mist to win? What? You love the mist? You want to kiss the mist?" And their leader Lucht is so offended that we're actually able to take time and explain that we're trying to save the world and destroy the castle. And then he takes us to their village in over on its own area that's hard to reach and outside the mist because it's so high up. So we can go talk to their elder. We get there, we tell the elder everything, and he's really down for this plan. So we're sent to the floating castle. The flying guys are gonna wait outside after they bring us, and once we're done, they'll help us escape. Smash through the castle, doing a couple puzzles. Though I say puzzles, it's more like you just flip a switch after you beat the mini boss who was guarding it. And those mini bosses in question have a delightfully silly death game move that I completely love.
Mhm. What they actually have is a punishment for playing the game on fast forward. So I could not react fast enough to actually like turn off my fast forward to do the shell game. So I was just like, well, fuck it, I'll just try it, and I think I killed myself every single time.
Yeah, one of the cards is kills the boss,
Yeah,
and I just save scummed until I did it.
yeah, I I suck.
It's good. We then reach the throne room and find that Zora is not there, and the way to that mist generator is locked. We then cut to outside where our flying allies flee frightfully, faced by the fearsome foe we were just looking for. Zora, who flies in with wings of her own. Just as our heroes try to leave the throne room, Zora comes in, and Noah demands that she gives those raw Sarah eggs that she took. And all she promises is to tell us all about them after we win, so it's fighting time. She's not too bad, except that she has one move that's really annoying because it will petrify one of your party members if it hits, and it hits very often. Uh, it's so annoying, you might say, that someone, I don't know who, might be forced to use safe state scumming to make sure she never actually uses it against you. Don't know who would do that, though.
She used it one time on Gala, and I healed him with my medicine that I had in my thing, and then I kicked her butt, and it wasn't hard.
No, it wasn't hard for me either, but I did do that silly cheeky thing. Well, the thing is, she did it first turn, the first like 8 times I loaded, which I don't want to fight to start and immediately lose two of my one of my three people. Anyway, once she's defeated, she reveals the truth. The raw Saru eggs were used to make the mist generators. They're in fact the most vital component. The party is aghast by this news, and the raw Saru admit that they knew, but they held it back, afraid the party would think that all raw Saru are villains because they're technically the ones making the mist. Anyway, it's enough about that. Songi's here. He insults Zora just blisteringly multiple times, and then lasers down the door to the mist generator, goes in and destroys it himself. Delightful. Why did he do this? Because this has all been a trap, and Zora is being sacrificed by her beloved Prince Court specifically just to make sure it works. The mist in the Callisto Kingdom is not actually being generated by the castle. It's being generated somewhere closer to Konkrum. The generator here isn't doing anything besides keeping the castle floating. Which means now that the generator is destroyed, the castle starts to fall out of the sky, which will then kill all those pesky heroes. Oh, and then Songi also Kamehameha waves Zora, vaporizing her because he can. We have 6 minutes to get the hell out of here. And even once you reach the area where you first arrived, the Soren aren't there. The castle continues to fall, and we get a sequence as it starts to break apart. Our heroes start slipping off the platform in free fall, and then the Soren show up, apologizing for their lateness as the castle crashes into the ocean. Our heroes are taken back to the Soren village, where the Rossir explain about how every time we've been destroying generators, we've been killing one of their kind, because it's the only way. And now our heroes have no other leads to go except to Konkrum. But hey, that's where we're going to find Noah's parents, right? Well, I guess we'll find out next time.
on Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, so
Uh,
let's listen to some music. Probably this one will be the piano piece, and then we'll talk about them in moments.
Once again, I love Songi so much. I'm gonna pull up the LVR because they saved the exact line he used when bad mouthing Zora,
Hmm.
which I'm so sorry. I like her design, but when I think about Zora, all I can think about is Zora from Legend of Zelda.
Hmm.
Um, God, he does multiple laser blasts out of his fists. Here it is. Where is it? Where's the exact line? Court says he hates pesky women and hates bossy women like you even more. I just, okay, dude.
I love him so much. So we have several Final Fantasy VI staples in this portion. The party splitting is one of my favorites because it doesn't drag on too long
No, it
and
doesn't.
it crisscrosses. So because you have to press a button to cycle through, they thought about that, and you never have to like cycle through like to get around back to the one you were just on. Like it goes in order, and so it's just a very nice little different way to play the game for a bit. It was nice. When I'm doing most JRPGs, I don't actually want my dungeons to be dungeons. I want them to be set pieces, and this was a
Yes.
very good set piece. And then we have a escape timer. Another thing from Final Fantasy VI, except this one, the timer stops when you pause. The timer stops when you get in battle. The timer
Mhm.
stops when you're reading a text box. The timer basically doesn't fucking matter. And
Yeah.
I love it. I still almost died because I found out on the way back that I had missed a whole lot of missable shit because
Oh,
the
the
hallways,
shiny the shiny parts on the hallways.
yeah, those were doors and not just shiny parts on the hallways. And so I ended up in accidentally entering like one or two of them, but then I was like, I don't actually care that much, and so I left. So the one I missed is probably the ultimate weapon for all three characters or whatever. But yeah, I loved the fact that it was not very hard.
Yeah,
It's just nice.
agreed. It was a really cool moment. It was a really cool scene. I really enjoyed it. I also, as much as I griped about it earlier, I think the ridiculousness of four boss fights in a row is hilarious.
Hmm.
And I think the one-on-one thing is fun. It was set up well. Uh,
Hmm.
I I still think it's hilarious that you had no problem with it when literally the guide I'm following treats it as if it's like the most like sent from hell to kill this particular person.
Yeah,
And I
I thought it was a fake fight.
that was a fake fight. That's really funny. I okay. I gotta gauge your reaction though on a couple things
Hmm.
though.
All right.
One, Uh, what was going on in Gala's flashback? I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about that.
In Gala's flashback,
Yes,
that so
is it just that Songy's a dick?
he's a dick. Yeah. Uh, basic. So think about this not as what we the player are seeing, but as what Gala is seeing. And Gala, in in his memories of that thing, he was like, "No, I trust my friend. He just bested me. This whole time has been like, oh." Songi, you've gone crazy because you strapped a monster to you because you wanted to be as cool as me, and I need to save you because you're obviously a good person, and it's just the Seiru that's fucking with you. But now he's like, oh no. you've been a piece of shit the whole fucking time, and
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. I
you've
like that.
always
Yeah.
wanted to fuck me over, and for no good reason. And when at the end of this, when you should have realized, oh shit, I was blowing this out of proportion, you instead doubled down and are even more of a horrible person. And now there's no redemption for you. I will be okay killing the shit out of you, except I'm a JRPG hero, so there's a good chance that I'll save you anyways.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
that's at
the
least my read on it.
the other thing is, how did you feel about the whole Kara uh backstory and situation?
I actually really liked it. So when you're saying it came out of nowhere, I don't think it came out of nowhere.
I know.
We've
I
been
don't think
following
it.
Kara for a long time, and the whole pimp section of last week was kind of a big thing. I don't feel like
No,
it came out of nowhere at all. And
I my wording was off. I didn't mean to imply that it came out of nowhere. My wording was more that it like took up the plot briefly and was just very dense in suddenly being the focus for a little bit. But that was more what I was saying, not that it came out of nowhere.
yeah, but really liked it. I thought it was cool that like the question of why do we have to go to Buma? Everybody in Buma knew like all of this was Grantes's fault. All of them knew that he was a Soren. All of them knew that the legend of the star-crossed lovers or whatever that they were talking about in Soul actually
Oh
was
yeah,
just
no,
Kara and Grantes. So when the
yeah.
Emperor was like, "You need to go to Buma to
Well,
do the
no,
thing,"
it's not the
or
Emperor. It's Doctor
Usha,
Usha, which I don't think Doctor
whoever.
Usha knows any of this.
I don't see why he wouldn't. He
I don't know
Doctor
why he would.
the sage statue things, those are all Dr. Usha's stuff. He's from Seoul.
I mean,
He's
true, but they were
he's
in
the one.
Boom, and not. Because it's part of like the kingdom, I guess. I don't know. It felt very like what you're saying makes sense. Like that does logically follow, but it just feels odd that like cl- it is a step by step of how we got there. That it feels like several steps. The connectivity of them is only obvious in retrospect, and getting pointed to them like that by Doctor Usha feels weird in the moment.
Yeah, I probably just talked to more NPCs than you did in Seoul
I mean,
because
I talked
they
to everybody.
they all got new dialogue 3 times this week. So they have new dialogue after beating everything last week, and then after you go to Buma to get your updated scene with Kara, they update, and then after you come back to actually go talk to Grantes, they all have new dialogue as well.
Okay, I didn't
And
talk to everyone on the way back to Grantes because that time I was like, I already know what's happening.
yeah, and so a lot of them talk about how uh the they talk about how like everything is Grantes's fault, both by name and then also by the legend of the angel and the human that fell in love and stuff like that. So I feel like Kara and Grantes are like celebrities around here, and so when Usha was like, "Oh yeah, go to Buma because that's kind of an important spot for these two guys, and our only hook back up with the Sorens is going to be with our little walkie guy."
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it didn't I never felt like we will oh no what's going on here. And also we already knew there were 3 Genesis trees in Buma, and so it
You
was like,
know,
oh we need to heal the trees in Buma. We already were
you
going
know.
to do that thing.
No, I knew doing that was going to be the next step. My thing was just that it felt weird of Usha being the one to point from one to another because the logical progression of that to the tree didn't quite click for me. I personally foresaw, oh, well, it's probably going to involve Kara. It's probably going to involve these things because those dominoes were well laid up. It wasn't I, as a human being, wasn't having that. My thing was, why does Usha think this? But you've set up a good reason for why he would understand, so that's fair.
Yeah.
My when I asked my feelings about your feelings about Kara, my feeling was more just, uh, I love my 2-bit thief girl, and I'm a little. I'm not gonna say sad, but I do just feel like the kind of like cat burglar hot girl trope of
Mhm.
then just like, oh, but she has this, like, it just gives me Catwoman Batman vibes, and in a
Mhm.
way that leaves me like, can like one of these ladies not have a like tragic love affair with this dude with a broody dude? It would be nice, but
Yeah,
also, you know, it doesn't detract that much. I still like her a lot. She's a delightful character. She backflips at the end of every scene she's in.
he's fantastic. But yeah, I really enjoyed this portion. I enjoyed playing a bigger chunk this week than we normally do. I usually feel like, damn it, I wish we could keep playing, but then uh to do one more section would be like a ridiculously long one. And so I'm glad that we got to do a ridiculously long one because I really like this game. And
It's a
apparently
good
I'm good
game.
at it. You and Bernard are
Apparently,
struggling and I am doing fine. So some something about it is clicking for me where it's not clicking for you. Did you ever go and get the restored progression? Is that what this is? Are you
no,
half
it's
as
still
leveled as me?
I'm on restored progression.
Then yeah, I have no idea. Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
Vivk at some point in the chat said sometimes orphans are evil, and it's like, yeah, no, that's fair. That's
yeah.
true. Um, I still can't believe I when I got to the Vaughn flashback and just the line, just like the word hemorrhaging was used, just like, oh, oh, okay.
Yeah. I like this game.
It's
I
good. It's a good game.
yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna play the Linuses after this. Probably not like put them at the top of my to be played list, but I did start Linus 2 and it threw a lot of words at me and I was like, I don't know what any of this means and I don't care enough. But now seeing this one through to the end, I'm like maybe the Linuses are actually good. A lot of
Maybe.
people say that Linus 2 is one of the best on the Super NES. So, those same people are the people like Vimk says that this is the best on the PS1. So, they're probably up to something. On to something, not up to something. My words don't ever work.
I'm trying to think of anything else for the section.
Oh, there was one of the people who was talking about Gaza and his sacrifice and everything. Uh, one of the there's an entire string of text boxes that
Yes.
basically gets around to Gaza did nothing wrong, and if you take them out of context, they're all still exactly true.
Yeah, that's true. Free Palestine.
Yeah,
Uh, I thought you were gonna say there's. I remember Pokérad because there it was really fun after the chapter going and talking to everyone, having everyone be talking about Gaza and their thoughts on him. Because like there are people like that, and then there are other people who are like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Gaza killed my parents. And then like there is just I remember I swear I remember there's at least one person who's just like, God, I hate him so much. I'm glad he's gone. I'm like, okay, man. Everyone's feelings are really complex.
yeah,
This old man caused a lot of drama.
you really
To be
did.
fair, he spent 10 years slaughtering.
Yeah. Uh, but Gaza did nothing wrong. Free
Gaza did
Palestine.
nothing wrong. Free Palestine, yes.
Oh. Vimk says in the chat, zombie movie protagonists aren't super popular when the cure is found. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that just, basically like zombie movie. The people who like idolize the idea of being in a zombie movie, frequently also the same people who get super into prepping, are the kind of people who are like, man, I can't wait for an excuse to do extreme violence and murder with no repercussions.
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah, this game rules,
It
and
does.
I will be sad to see it go in a couple weeks. But that will do it for this week. If you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help support us. If you do, you'll get some extra benefits. At $1 a month, the Gadabout tier gets access to our bonus feed, where we have after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show that are backer only. They also get to vote on our polls to choose what we play next, which we are ready to announce. I buried the lead here. Congratulations, those of you who didn't turn it off when the credits started. We are opening up our poll by the time you hear this. Not Vimk, because Vimk's here right now. But by the time you hear this on the feed, we will have our poll up for our this year's mini longcast block, which we are putting two games together that have turn-based battles, but with Zelda puzzles that were told over a duology. That is Golden Sun versus Lufia 1 and 2. So head on over to www.rpgbook.club to vote on which one we should play next. I love both of these games, like freakishly much. So I'm fine with either one. Though I was talking
I
with Trish before we started. So for the how we do best of the rests, Golden Sun is one game in two halves. Lufia is a game in it, and it's much better prequel. So if we have to do best of the rest, we could potentially just play one Lufia game. But if we do best of the rest and it's Golden Sun, we have to play. I wouldn't allow us to only play one. So if you want us to play two long casts, vote for Lufia. If you want this to be logistically easy, vote for Golden Sun. Otherwise, I don't care. I want to play both of them.
I'm good with either as well. I've never played Golden Sun. I my only thing there is I do have a deep affection for Camelot because of the Mario sports games they were involved in and the fact they created Waluigi. Um, but the I am leaning slightly towards Lufia simply because I have a silly deep affection for it. I've touched the game, I've not gotten very far, but when I want to say 15 or 16, my cousin gave me a Super Nintendo and a smattering of games he had, and one of them was Lufia 2. And not only did he give me a copy of Lufia 2, he gave me his printed out and like binder like punched and then using ribbons to string them together. He had printed out the entire game facts for Lufia 2.
Love
I'm
that.
very sad that I don't have it anymore, but because of that, the game Lufia 2 has always had like the Lufia games have had a thing in the back of my brain, and I think it'd be really fun to go to them. But also, it would be really cool to play Golden Sun and know what the hell Golden Sun is finally. Besides that, there's a dude named Isaac who, if you get his assist trophy in Smash, he shoots a hand.
Yeah. Shooting hands is about half of the entire game. Um, so I love the games that decided to carry the torch from Lufia, aka Wild Arms 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh,
Uh,
oh,
I am very, very excited. Like, if you haven't seen like anything from Wild Arms 1, if you look at Wild Arms 1 and Lufia 2 side by side, you can't tell which one is which.
oh, oh
They
God!
are.
I'm having flashbacks to what I did play of Lufia 2 and thinking about like the way you use items in the overworld to do puzzles and stuff, and I'm just
Mhm.
thinking back to the guns in 5 and the way that worked. I'm like, oh, it is the same thing.
Yeah, the gun in 5 was a trim down of the tools that were in the first four games, and those were just lifted from Lufia. So
Also, there are apparently 5 Lufia games, kind of.
yeah, so there are, I think, actually only three, and I think there are various other remakes.
Well,
Um,
there's I think it's getting counted as 5 because there is Lufia Curse of the Sinistrals, which is not the same as Rise of the Sinistrals. It is a reimagining on the DS,
yeah,
uh, which is not quite, it kind of counts as its own
yeah. I
entry.
so I forgot about the Game Boy Color. I knew there was the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, there's four games. Curse of the Sinistrals is a remake, and it's very much a reimagining. If we play Lufia 2, I might play both of them at the same time to be a weirdo Trish, but I don't think you could play Curse of the Sinistrals as as Lufia 2. I think it's definitely it's basically the Sword of Mana for Final Fantasy Adventure. They are the same game, but they're not the same game. Is basically what it is. But yeah, I forgot there was a Game Boy Color game as well. So yeah, there's four of them, but only two of them are a duology, and same with
Yes.
Golden Sun. There are three Golden Suns, but Golden Sun 3 is definitely a sequel to the first two that are a duology. But yeah. If you up your donation to $5 a month, the warrior tier gets all of the above, but I get to read their name at the end of every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Florus, Kildranas, Freddy Rodriguez, Aaron 524, and Jfro Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier gets all of the above, plus a one sentence shout out to whatever it is they're passionate about. Shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker owned, reader supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shoutouts to Vimk, who says, then came the long hike up 22 flights the back way, not one light relieving the greasy dark. Heading to the split off shaft and the pit where her ride would arrive. The shuttle was due in 2 hours. There were a lot of speed reader unfriendly words in that sentence. Um, and then finally, it's clear time that says for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, but I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye bye.
This
Then
Dragon
is
Quest is good.
Dragon Quest is so good. I remember when I went back and played through the first Dragon Quest, I was just like, "Oh, this game's delightful." I will die on the hill that Dragon Quest 1 is better than Final Fantasy 1 now.
Yeah. No offense to Final Fantasy because they're my homeboy.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've been with them since very long time ago. They were
Same.
the second console RPG I ever played. Well, no, third. But the second like big boy RPG. I'm not counting Paper Mario. Um,
Yeah.
and so Final Fantasy VIII was right out of the gate for me. So I love them to death. Every single Dragon Quest is better than every single similarly numbered Final Fantasy, and it's not close.
My only problem with that is I haven't played Dragon Quest 6 yet, and I feel like saying that's better than Final Fantasy 6 is a hard, like,
Yeah,
I don't know about that one. But I
that one
love 5
that
is my favorite. 5 is my favorite Final Fantasy, and I think Dragon Quest 5 is probably better.
yeah. So 6 might be close. I haven't played enough of Dragon Quest 6 to know.
Dragon
So
Quest 5 is so good.
the and it's not close is it might not be true for specifically 6, but the
Mhm.
rest of them absolutely better.